everybody, here we are. Sorry I'm a little bit late, completely lost track of the time preparing and gluing things up for you today, so slight apologies. Now, someone new behind the camera, or not new, my lovely wife Vicky's behind the camera today, only because both Finley has just gone to work and Charlie's just come back from work, so we're letting them both have a day off today. So Vicky's behind the camera. She has done it once before. So she's in training, so we'll guide her around, ready, because I think unfortunately the wheels of industry are turning. Everyone's starting to go out to work again, so cameramen are becoming scarce, but don't worry, it's all going to carry on. There is no way we're going to stop doing these live videos, so regularly our Tuesday and our Thursdays still happening. Even when I get called back into head office at Axminster to do these videos there, it's happening. So don't fret, no problems. And don't forget, September time onwards, for those of you that like Christmas, that's when we're going to start doing Christmas Christmas decorations and Christmas paraphernalia, all that sort of thing. We'll throw in just, we'll have a nice soft start, maybe once a week or once a fortnight to start with. But then as soon as we get into October, November, we'll start doing some big Christmas decorations. So anyway, enough of that. Let's look at today. Today we're going to be doing some pens, and I'm going to just presume whatever, that you've never turned a pen before. So my apologies already for the people that know exactly what they're doing with pen turning. We're going to start at your day one. So we're going to talk you through it. And I'll give you some of my experiences, some things that work for me, some things that don't work for me, that sort of thing. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to do a single piece pen to start with, and then we're going to do a double piece pen. I'll tell you what I'm talking about in a moment. The names of the pens I got: the double piece is an Americana, and the single piece is where is it? A Venetian. Used to be the Sierras. So some interesting pens, but also I'm going to keep it simple with the timbers, or the materials. We're going to use timber as opposed to polyesters and acrylics and all that sort of thing. But what I thought, maybe then next week we'll do pen turning level 2, and we'll do acrylics and polyesters. And what I thought even more exciting is if we do something with the awkward ones to turn. Vicky, can you pass me that middle blank? That's the one. So we can do things like the apple pickings, you know, the ends of the little twigs that are in resin, or we'll do the coffee, one of my favourites, the coffee beans. But we get an awful lot of questions about these, saying how, well, they're impossible to turn, aren't they, you know, that sort of thing. But we're going to make you show how we can do them and make it possible. And it's real coffee beans in there as well, guys, so when you handle the pen you get that real coffee aroma. I had one for years when I was working in the office. And that smell under my nose all the time. So we're going to stabilise and things like that. That's for level 2 next week. Let's start level 1. So Vicky, if you can just pan around, look at all the gear that we've got going on. So whole thing over here, Vic. That's it. And then just down we go. Don't be afraid. Right in. Look down. Beautiful. And I'm going to... Don't start feeling sick, everybody. We're just going to drop you down a little bit. There we go. Right, so let's have a look at that. I'll put a little bit of light on the subject there, if that makes a difference. So, Vicky, you direct me to make sure my hands are in shot, because I'm going to be pointing at things as well. To start with, now there's an awful lot of gear on the table. To start with, let's just break it down a bit. So we've got one pen kit there. I'll wait for Vicky to stop moving.
Okay.
Alright, you've got to leave just there.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. Okay, so you've got one pen kit there. Okay, so this is the Venetian here. Then you've got the bushings for the Venetian, and you've got the drill bit for it, and you've got the material that I'm going to use. It is a piece of timber. In this case, it's a piece of the stabilised dyed timber, so really pretty colours. And in all cases I've drilled these out first, so I'll explain about drilling in a moment, and then we've also glued the tubes in. Each kit comes with a tube. Okay, next bit, we've got another pen kit here. This is the Americana, the associated tubes which come as part of the kit, the bushings required to make the pen kit. I'll tell you about that in a moment. the drill bit for that pen kit and the material. In this case, it's a piece of Cocobolo, beautiful timber. Okay, 2-piece. So this is one pen kit here, a pen blank here. I've just taken my pen out of it, and we've got a spare bit of timber there we can do something with later. All right, and there's a little pencil mark just scribing along there, so I know where I've cut in half, so we can keep the pen together, so we get that nice grain running all the way through. This is a barrel trimmer. Okay, a barrel trimmer is used to clean up the ends. Now, I don't have a barrel trimmer big enough here to do the pen kits I'm doing. I don't have what we call the universal barrel trimmer, so I'm going to devise another way of doing that in a minute, and I will show you. We've got the drill guide for drilling, okay, and that's designed to basically, if I bring that closer into camera, it's got a V cut out there. You put your blank in, close everything up, and it's a safe way of drilling while keeping it upright as well, because some of the smaller pen blanks, you know, pretty close. You've got to be dead centers. You don't want it veering off at all. So that's quite important, that little piece of kit there. And these part numbers are going to come up on screen for you if you're watching on Facebook Live. If not, we'll try and get them to you in another way. I haven't got, oh yes I have, here we go. Let me give you some part numbers. Part number for this one here, okay, this one is the centering vise at 600,771. Part number for the pen kit, the Venetian there, is 504,660, and for the Americano is 800,382. Moving on, a really important part of the process is a pen mandrel. And this is one of the through mandrels. So we put pressure on the pen rather than the barrels themselves. So this is my favourite pen mandrel that we do. It's the Evolution pen mandrel. This case, it's a 2-Morse taper. And for the 2-Morse taper version of that mandrel, it's 506,445. That will take you to the mandrel. If you have a 1-Morse taper, you'll be able to find it from there on in. Okay. Next thing, if you're really getting into pens, you want a way of assembling it rather than using your lathe or using a vise. So what we'll do, we go with an assembly press, and this is an assembly press, and it basically presses the machine, presses the pens together or disassembles them as well. 106069 is the part number for that one. Apart from that, we have glues. Okay, the glues are here. My favourite glues for this sort of thing are epoxy resins, and we've got 2 here. I've got a 5-minute and a 30-minute. My recommendation would be a 30-minute. If you're in a rush like I was about 10 minutes ago, the 5-minute is the one to go for. There's some people use super glues as well. Not my preference really, because super glues are quite brittle, and some of the pens will go down to very, very thin wall thicknesses, and I just find there's not enough give in it, not enough adhesion. So, you know, but if you want to do one pen very quickly, then maybe super glue. The other glue for this would be a polyurethane glue, the expandable type glues as well. And then just some ideas for finishing. We're going to use friction polish, but acrylic lacquer, both in the spray or the brush on work well. You just need to leave it to dry a little bit longer. Okay, so back to me. Let's have a look at where we're going to start with all this. And pens, to be quite honest with you, pens are a very, very simple thing. Most of the time involved in doing a pen is all in the prep. Once you actually get to turning the pen, it's ever so simple. I've already mentioned that I've drilled some out. Now the reason you drill pen blanks out, if I just take 1/2 of what's going to be the Americana here, so I've drilled out, this particular one's 8mm. So I put it in the drill vise, drilled an 8mm hole through, and then what we have to do is insert the tube that comes with your pen kit. And all pen kits have a tube in, or 2 tubes if it's a 2-part pen. And then that needs to be glued inside. Okay, so we're going to do that now. I've glued the Venetian in already, but I haven't quite glued this one yet. So what we're going to do, bit of scrap wood. I'll grab both tubes and both pieces. We're going to use a bit of scrap wood. You might want to come in a little bit closer here, Vic. That's while I get the glue. Again, we'll use a 5-minute because in this case I want this to dry whilst I'm turning the first pen. Don't forget, guys, keep asking questions. haven't told Vicky yet, but she's going to be asking me questions that you fire in. So they'll come up on the screen.
Andrew May's just said this stuff is awesome. Used it for bottle openers too, and it did a really good job.
There we are. Checks in the post, Andrew. So a little bit of each. It's not the nicest of smells, to be honest, when you get this stuff out, but it's like any epoxy, it's like any resin, equal parts. This one being 5 minutes, so it's going to be 5 minutes. It's going to dry quite quickly. So give it a good mix. It's a little bit of scrap wood.
Smiley face from Andrew.
Right, okay, so we're literally just going to pop those in. I like to do it this way, and then as I push down nice and slowly, you see the glue sort of roll. This glue sort of roll up the tube as you put it in. Don't get this stuff on your fingers, it's a nightmare to get off. Someone asked the question, I don't know why, when I was using it the other day, we were doing something epoxy. Don't get it on his fingers, he says. And we were doing something epoxy, and someone asked how you get it off your fingers. Well, I've since discovered, only yesterday, that cellulose gets it off your fingers. But again, in itself, cellulose is quite nasty stuff. So I put a little bit on tissue, and then just wiped it off my fingers, and then gave my fingers a good wash with soapy water. But it worked a treat. It came straight off. Right, there we go. I'm going to do the same thing there.
Bill's just said, why didn't you stuff the tube to give it a scuff the tube to give it a good key for the epoxy?
Absolutely. Good idea. Could do. Never done it. I've seen people and heard people talk about it. Good idea. Some tubes you can get, can't you, that come pre-scuffed. These don't, but some do. So you'll see them sort of like that braided edge. But that's a good tip from Bill. A little bit of 400 grit paper maybe just on the outside just to scuff it up. That epoxy, honestly, it's such a good glue. Remember I said that I haven't got a barrel trimmer big enough for this, so what we're going to do is use my sanding table. If you remember, we made the sanding table a few weeks ago. So what I've done now is added the collar, okay, so I can get straight back to centre line every single time, so I don't have to fiddle with that. And we'll put a bit of timber on there, and we'll just make a little right angle, and we'll use that just to true up the edges. There we are. That and the help of a square. There we are. I think that's good to go. So dust extraction on. We're going to remember start with the single tube, just this one. Okay. So you can see, I think you can see the tube in there. Maybe. All right. And we're just going to sand back to it. So I'm going to turn the dust extraction on just briefly. Taking off the label just so it don't cause any problems. Now this is stabilised with a substance called cactus juice. It's basically a very fine, I need to move that in a little bit, a much thinner version of epoxy, and then there's a vacuum chamber used to pull the resin in and take out the air. Let's get that a little bit closer. sand down to the metal tube. There we are, already you can see that glinting. That's one done. Now I'm going to chance my arm. Do the Coca-Cola. So that's everything trimmed up. We'll come back to the Coca-Cola in a moment. We can get rid of our sanding setup, and we'll also get rid of this sanding disc and chuck. There's no chucks needed for pen turning. Way. Okay, so let's mount the pen mandrel. Okay, so here's the pen mandrel. Okay, so what I think now, Vic, let's get in really close. We'll adjust that, we'll move that out of our way. A minute. Just gonna straighten you up a little bit. And we're going to bring you right up, guys, so you can see over the top. Pop you in position and pop you down there. Right, there we are. Vicky's going to do the rest. So we've got, like any drive, that's a fixed center. On this side you got the rotating center, that's going in the tailstock. Don't forget what I said, most of the time in this is all in the prep. I'm just going to drop the camera back down again because now poor Vicky, she's standing on tiptoes and can't actually see the screen and your questions. So here we go. There we are, how's about that? If you adjust that to get that in camera, then we'll be good. We had another question on Tuesday as well. We were turning the little tea lights, and someone asked, where do I get the tea lights from? And I said it was Rudolph's treasure chest. So here we go. I'm going to hold this in front of the camera. This is a German website, and so you can see, if I get that out of the way, I think that's a good shot there. The website there. Okay, so it's this translates into treasure chest. So it's Rudolph's treasure chest. But put it in German, and don't forget the .de, otherwise you'll never get there. Alright, it's everything to do with German toy making, German nutcrackers, smokers, all the paraphernalia, all the bits, the kits and stuff like that involved. There are some exciting things happening that I'll tell you about in a later video in regards to other videos and toys and things like that I'll be demonstrating. So I will let you know that when I get some clear dates.
Martin asks, what's the advantage of this mandrel over standard ones?
I'll show you. I've got standard ones up there, but this is the way forward, definitely. So let's go. I'm going to take that bushing off there. What bushings do, bushings take the place of the little bits of metal that make up a pen kit. So without a bushing for the relevant pen kit that you're making, in this case it's a Venetian, I won't know how far to turn down to. These are the same diameter as the bits of metal in the pen kit. They also take up the gap between the inside of the tube and the actual mounting of the mandrel. So it's quite an important piece of kit to have. That bushing slots there, this comes here, and it's as simple as now, I've got to turn that down to that bushing diameter. Martin, your question, or the answer to your question really is how this now works. So instead of pushing on here, okay, which most pen mandrels do, we're going to push directly against the bit of timber and the tube on that bushing, because we can now bring that all the way through and put pressure directly on there. So you can see the benefits there. You know, you've got direct pressure. You don't have to rely on screwing something up. You're not bending the bar. You're pushing directly on the workpiece. Really, really good. Let's go for a short tool rest. We don't need anything too big.
John's just asked, is that where you got the slim white candles came from?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. However, guys, Amazon, I use Amazon quite a lot because Rudolph's Treasure Chest have their own store on Amazon, so you might find that a little bit easier, because I know I've tried myself. Rudolph's Treasure Chest there, it's not translated. There's no translation as such on there, so it might be easier to go for Amazon. And the little word in your search, tinkering, makes all the difference. If I put Christmas pyramid bearings, then the word tinkering, that's it. That's all I need. All right, Vic?
Yeah, just getting that.
Okay, we're going to go nice and quick. 2,500 revs. Little round nose scraper, what am I talking about? A little 6mm bowl gown. And even though this is a stabilised timber, it doesn't work any differently. In fact, I think it works a little bit nicer. The reason it's stabilised is because normally this timber would be too soft to turn, and you'll find a lot of things like that. Even corn cobs are done for that reason. So let's... Little roughing cuts. You've seen me do this before. We're going to use the bowl gouge as a roughing tool, as a skew chisel, before we get the main skew chisel working. So what I'm doing here is just roughing down to nearly the diameter that I want. And if I stop the lathe, just to show you the sort of material that we're dealing with, what it looks like, it's beautifully burred. And you get some of those areas, look, where the die hasn't taken, and you get, for that reason, you get lovely markings and stripes running through. There we are, that's enough roughing. Let's go for a skew chisel now.
Rustic Woody says, what is the timber stabilised with?
So this would be another epoxy resin like a cactus juice. Well, cactus juice is a brand of stabilising resin. So I'm just turning down to the bushing. And you can see what I mean about the time. All the times in the prep, because the turning is very simple indeed. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do all the turning for both pens, then we're going to put the assembly tool up onto the lathe, and we'll get the things assembled together. So there we are, look, I've turned down to the bushings, that's done. quickest bit of turning we've done in this whole series, I reckon. But what lovely colours. Really pretty stuff. So,
Steve just asked, you missed the intro, what's the finished product, please?
we've got 2 pens, Steve. We've got a single Venetian pen, single barrel Venetian pen, this one, and we've got a double barrel Americana pen in a moment. Sorry, swig of tea. Okay, so dust extraction is going to go on. I'm going to do a little bit of sanding, and I'm going to sand on both of these up to 600 grit. We'll start with a 120. Now I have mentioned that next week we're going to do pen kits level 2. What I mean by that is we're going to move on to the difficult materials, acrylics, polyesters. And then we're going to talk about different ways of finishing with water and burnishing creams and all those sorts of things. So that'll be a really good one to watch if you're not used to pen making. So for the moment we're using a regular abrasive, things that I've been using forever, you know, the RB paper, bit of Abranet. Started off with 120 Abranet here, dry.
Will this be on YouTube, this video?
Yeah, so everything will be uploaded to YouTube later and Instagram TV as well by tonight. So you'll be able to see everything there again. 120, so let's go to a 150. Then we'll move on to a 240. Then 400.
Is that turned straight or curved in the middle?
It's a very slight radius in the middle, so more of a lozenge sort of shape. Shape and design are absolutely down to you guys. Do what you like. Do what you think might sell. There we are. How quick is that? So as a turn project, take no time at all. And I would definitely advise doing a few at a time. Do all the prep. So your turning's going to be over in a few minutes. Beautiful. Right, let's go for a friction polish. Nice speedy way of finishing these. For longevity though, I would go something a little bit harder wearing, like the acrylic or a lacquer of some sort. I just want to get this finished for you guys, so I need something that's going to go off quickly.
Would you use micro mesh pads?
Yeah, micro, especially on things like the acrylics and polyesters. Really work well. So let's pop this on without the lathe spinning and see those patterns really jump out now. Then we'll turn the lathe on, slow to start with, build the speed up. Now I'm only going to use that wet area of tissue just very briefly, because otherwise the tissue breaks down and you start sticking to the project. Remember, friction polish has shellac in it. That was the word. Escaped me for a minute. Has shellac in it. Shellac and sand. Shellac and carnauba wax. There we go.
Question from Charles. My last. How do you hide the brass tube which can show through the acrylics?
Pen turning part 2, Charles. We'll do that next week, but very briefly, I pick my acrylics wisely. I don't go for the very pale colours on thin pens. I've heard of people actually colouring the tubes and all sorts of things, but the safest way for those paler materials, use them on the thick pens only. So something like this would probably work, but the thicker ones are not going to see through as easily. Vicky, guide me.
That's good. Yep.
That's all right. Can you see that okay?
Yep. Jack asks, what's your favourite type of wood?
Free wood. Wood I don't have to pay for. Ooh. If you were asking Vicky, she'd say yew straight away.
Always.
I have to say I do a lot of oak turning. Chestnut I love. Anything with burrs in it. I love the look of exotic timbers, but I'm not overly keen on turning them. So Yeah, a nice bit of oak, nice bit of burr elm, something like that would do me just fine. Right, so we're going to, don't forget that pen kit, that pen, the one we just turned, that's going to go to one side. We're going to put it together in a minute. I want to get on and turn the two piece, so we're going to swap bushings. First bushing, that's going to be the top of the pen. Now I'm going to look where my pen was joined together. Okay, I've got a couple of pencil marks here somewhere, and I've got the giveaway label, of course. So there he is, look, so that's how it went together. So I want to keep it that way. That's going to move up into there, go into that bushing. Then we've got a middle bushing. That's going to do the same, into there. And the next one. Into there. Oh, I missed a bit, hang on. That little ring there is very, very important, and that, I'll show you why in a minute. Then we go back on with that one. Then we go on with the final one to there. So you can see already, you can see why I call it a two-piece as opposed to the one-piece. See where we're going with this. Everything nice and tight. There we go. So that little decorative ring, well, that little ring in the middle is for a decorative ring. So if we look at the pen kit for the Americana, this little ring here needs to have a different diameter than the rest of the pen. So that's what this little floating ring in the middle is. It's going to take that diameter. You'll see in a second. One of my favourite pen kits, these. We've been doing, as a company, we've been doing these pen kits for, well, ever since I've been there, a bit at Axminster, and that's well over 20 years now. So this is a real old favourite, tried, tested. Let's try and get rid of that label as best we can. Oh, it ain't going. Right, we'll turn it away then. So same speed, I'm happy with the speed. Ramp it up a little bit. Let's get bowl gouge, take away some of those corners. That little ring in the middle is just floating around. He's okay at the moment. Remember when we glued this, guys? We only glued it when we started today. Okay, I think we're almost ready for the skew. We're skewing the parting tool. What I want to do now is make that little ring fit over this area. Nearly. Once it's over, then we'll use that as the outer diameter for the top of the pen. There we are. So that's going to take on the little decorative ring diameter now. So back to our skew. What I would also say, and we were just talking about favourite timbers, when you're pen turning you need something with a heavy grain or a nice colour. Because as soon as you go down to this sort of size you lose a lot of that patination that you get. So something like a Zebrano has to be a really good Zebrano, a very tight tight figured one, otherwise you lose a lot of its effect. There we go. Right, so down here we've got to go down to the lower diameter, so let's put more of that away. I am going to leave it a little bit proud, and that's the only place that I can leave proud. I can't leave the rest any bigger, and the only reason I can do that is because I've got this decorative ring here. It sort of hides it, and it becomes a bit of a barrier to stop that ring falling until I glue it in place later. There we are, that should be enough. Now as we get back to a relative normality, as the skill centre guys get back into the swing, we're all going to be doing videos. I'm actually treading on one of my colleagues' toes here. So Ben the Pen Beddoes should be back on pen turning in a not too distant future. And we may get Ben to do some videos with the more advanced pens as well.
Do you know when courses are starting again?
At the moment, no, I don't. Not in the foreseeable future. Not this side of autumn, anyway. So, when we know more, I'll let you know, guys. I really will. Look at this beautiful marking that's going through here. It's stunning. Vicky's got her eyes on this one already. Right, dust extraction going on. No, sorry, I have no updates at the moment. We're going to concentrate just for the next couple of months on bringing you more videos like this, more of the same of what Craig's doing with the routing and the power tools and the machinery, and we hope to bring you a lot more as well. So some exciting stuff happening. I had a meeting yesterday, and there's some real buzz about the videos that we're doing. So there's going to be lots more. Yes, Vic.
What are thoughts on CA finish?
Good, yeah, absolutely. It's a very thick finish when you master it. I wouldn't do it on your most expensive pen blank to start with. Have a practice with it on some of the lower end pen blanks. But yeah, it can create a very nice gloss finish, quite a thick finish. So a very protective one when it's being used heavily.
That's from Gerald.
Hello, Gerald. Right, 240. Clean bit of 240. Just a quick glance up at the clock to make sure we're not spilling over our time. Have you ever wondered why we try and keep it to an hour? It's to keep everybody's interest, but the main reason is so we can put it on Instagram TV afterwards. It's a limit, so there's your answer. Check that, because I just think I've missed a grade of abrasive. I'm going to go back to 400, then back up to 6. Okay, there we are. So same thing again, we'll go with a friction polish. With a friction polish, exactly the same. And apply.
Will you demonstrate deep hollowing with the crown setup? That's from Callum.
Yeah, we can do that. What about deep hollowing though, Callum? That's not the tool for really deep hollowing. I would stick to, for the very deep stuff, I'm always going to stick to my woodcut, the ProMaster. If you're going sort of up to about 8 inches in hollowing, then you could get away with the crown. The crown set. Are we talking the carbide tipped ones, or are we talking the Revolution? Just answer that one a minute, will you? And then, because I'll tell you why, the Revolution, is similar, to be quite honest. I wouldn't go too deep with the Revolution, only because they're quite short tools as well. I want the length that we get with that ProMaster. Also the top bevel and the cutting action of it. Both the carbide tips and the Revolution really for up to around about 8 inches, really. Right, and that's all the turning. That's all the turning. So, Vicky's going to hang fire there a minute. I'm going to start putting things together for you. So let's go right back to the first one. So I'll take this off. We'll get the other one back on. Don't lose your bushings. If you lose your bushings, then you can't make that pen. You've got to get another set of bushings. Individual bushing parts aren't separate. You won't get them separate. So there we are. Now, in case you were wondering, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know what my pen kit needs. If you go online to our website, if you go on to or into the catalogue, what you'll see is by every pen kit, you'll see bushing type required, and you'll also see drill size and drill required. So don't fret. All the information is there somewhere.
Callum says a deeper setup, please, for hollowing.
Deeper set for hollowing,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
we will then.
Yeah.
I've got, I think, about the next couple of weeks sorted, Callum, so we'll do that in the near future, before the end of the summer. Right, let's put that strategically placed bit of timber there. We're going to get the assembly press over. In fact, let me do it where I'm not going to put my big fingers or hands in your way. So what I want to do is end up,
right, I need
yeah,
to
Vic's going to move. Going to end up the distance or the width of my pen. So we'll do this bit at one stage at a time. So let me. Oh, Vicky's getting in shot. Are we close enough there, Donna?
I think so. Going a bit closer.
Let me show everybody what we've got in the kit. Probably not the best place to be doing it over all these shavings, to be fair. Right, first of all, we do these in stages. First of all, let's put on the nib. The nib or the cap doesn't really matter. That's going to go, yes it does. Yes it does. Come back, bend the pen. So there we are. So that's my first bit. Now this could go in awkward because of the top there. That doesn't matter. It'll pull itself back out. Let's do that at the top. That's locked in position. Bring the clamp over. And with a little bit of wiggling, position right. There we are, a little bit of wiggling, we get that pushed in. You won't do it by hand, it's supposed to be what we call an interference fit. Okay, next thing is we're going to insert, let's put that down there for 1 minute. We're going to insert into the mechanism. So there's the nib. We've got a little spring here, goes over the refill, then that in turn screws in. Make sure that's done up really tight, and then that again is on an interference fit, but that can be pushed in by hand. On the end of the refill, you've got a little lump of wax. That's so it doesn't dry up in transportation. That needs to come off before it will write. Bit of card over there, Vic, on the bench. Can you grab it? Oh, give you a bit of wood. Look, what a beautiful bit of timber that is, Vic. In my shot there. So.
Yeah, go back just a tad.
That's it.
Excellent.
Nice pen, that one.
That's lovely.
And then it's a twist mechanism. So basically, what you do, get that twist working. There we are. See that propelling and coming back there.
Mm-hmm.
But really pretty bit of wood. That pen blank, don't forget, has made 2 sections. So I only used half the blank itself. So that one pen blank, I can do another one of these pens out of. Okay. So really quick, really easy, that one. That's a one piece. If you're starting out in pen turning, go for a one piece to start with. Very quick gratification there. All right, so lovely little pen. Right, let's put together the other one. A little bit more complex. You've got 2 sections to this one. Should have enough time to put them together. Same sort of things in the kit. You got mechanism. You had the bushings, which I've now glued in place. You got that little decorative ring.
Just say nice comment, Callum.
That.
Something about writing a big cheque for the new camera lady.
You've already had that discussion. Right, so nib. Little collar over the nib. Don't worry if you're not sure, of how to put these together. All the pens on the website, they'll have a download to download the instructions with them. I need to tighten that up a little bit more, come up a notch, just to get a little bit more leverage in. Okay, so that's so far, that's that area. Now I've got to be thinking here how I'm doing what I'm doing. That is now going to go up to here. Okay, the top of the pen. One of those things, you've got to get this in the right order. If you miss something out, it's very difficult to take apart. You use your dissembler, but it's still not always easy. There we are. So that's the top of the pen with its clip now. Decorative ring is going to fit over there. You'll hear me concentrating because I'll go quiet.
Tick, 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 tick.
All right. So, fiddly, that'll go in there. Bring your clamp in. What's that? There we are. That's as hard as it gets. Put that down just for a minute. Get my mechanism and refill. Refill's got its little spring on it already. That just keeps everything tight. Refill goes in the pen. There. Mechanism then screws on to that section that we've just put in. And then you do the same thing again with this one. You push this on. Don't forget, like I said, I would normally glue this onto there, okay, but I haven't got time for the glue to dry at the moment, so that's going to push on. And there we have
Lovely.
The Americana. Alright, same sort of thing. We've got our twist mechanism. A little bit of wax on the end again still. Get rid of that. So let's get the two together. That was under an hour and we've made 2 pens. The only preparation I'd done today without you watching was drilling, and I glued this one in place. That was the only preparation. All right, see that okay?
Yep.
So just to recap on that one, that was Venetian single tube pen and the Americana double pen. Really, really quick and easy to make. All right. There we are. Okay, Vicky, you pan back. Get rid of all the lights. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. That was a really pleasing little project to make. It doesn't take a huge amount of time to make. And like I said, it's the preparation is everything when it comes to pen turning. So spending a little bit of time on the on the prep, and then enjoying the actual turning of it as well. With a little bit more time, probably a different finish, a little bit more resistant to handling a lot, and maybe the 30-minute epoxy just gives you a little bit more timing, gluing up, and preparation as well. But I hope you found that interesting. That is your introduction to pen turning. On Thursday next week, we'll do another session of pen turning, but with a little bit more of materials used, right? Acrylics and polyesters. And next Tuesday, of course, we'll be on our fishing floats and fishing lures. And there's a lot of airbrushing and things like that, a bit of cork turning and things. So guys, until next week, have a fantastic weekend, happy turning. I've been Colwin Way. Thank you, Vicky, and see you same time, same place, 4 o'clock, my workshop on Tuesday. Bye-bye, have a great weekend.